Good afternoon, Don Huffmeister again. This is the fourth in a series of videos that have to do with developing technique in elementary and intermediate bands. The first three videos dealt with those subjects, but in particular the things that are contained in the elementary technique book for band that I wrote. And in that one we went over the abilities of using a playable fingering chart and the basic sounds that are learned in the order that they're learned in. And then I also showed a chart which makes it possible to play all of the major, minor, seventh, and diminished chords with a beginning group, which I think is rather neat. In this one we want to address what is the most practical tonality to establish with an elementary band first. Well, it happens to be E-flat concert. And the reason for that is the first 7 sounds that we teach the students, the easiest ones to teach them, fall in that key. And so therefore it follows that E-flat concert is a likely candidate and one that is very practical for an elementary band because of course, excuse me, most of the beginning band tunes also are written in E-flat concert. So what I've done is set it up so that we can have that tonality presented to the kids. And it's done like this. If you look at this part for the clarinet, you'll see that in number 1, we have a B flat in the key signature. I present it by use of tetra chords. So you have the first 4 sounds, then I drop down and pick up the C and go up to the F and then reverse that. So we are really have the E-flat tonality established in their minds, and that will be true all the way through the band. Then in the next one, it seems like this is a good place to immediately introduce the function of the key signature. It's a very easy way to do it, and so what I've done in number 2 is I've replaced the flat with this and an arrow to it to the B. And so the kids get the idea of what the function of the key signature is. And that's followed out through the other keys that we use in the technique book for the elementary band. In other words, the 4 principal keys are E-flat, B-flat, F, and A-flat concert. So the next most practical key for the students to play is, in fact, B-flat concert. And so we see here B-flat concert and the fingering for the clarinet, fingering for B-flat below the staff, and then the one for B natural. And it's a wise idea to play back and forth between those 2 half steps so that the students get a good idea of the difference between those sounds. And then after that, what I do in example 6 and 7, you can see we're setting up the practical way of teaching how to play an F concert. Now what will happen, because you're playing back and forth between the basic technique book and also a supplementary textbook like this, is that some students are just naturally going to excel and they're going to outdistance the other children in the group. So in the clarinet as an example, some of them will get over the break because you'll be able to, they're moving that far in the basic text, and so it would be possible for them to play the E-flat concert scale up 1 octave, like this. And it also, they may be far enough in the book to go down to the low F, and they would be able to play it in the lower octave. Either one of these may be played with the scale on the preceding page, and so that means really that the students who aren't as far along would also be able to profit from it because number 1, they'd hear that it could be done, see that it could be done, and 2, they get the experience of hearing the clarinet in the higher range and also tuning up the tonality in terms of octaves. You'll remember also that I've said that I think there's real benefits for the instructor playing the actual instrument with the student when they're teaching it. They get not only an idea of what this instrument sounds like, but they're also getting the proper pitch. Now, it isn't really practical to carry all the horns around to all of the various places you may teach. And I can remember teaching in boiler rooms and janitor rooms and hallways on the top of the stage, in gymnasiums and so on. There's almost an endless number of places that you could wind up teaching students to play it. And I also indicated that I think it's very useful to use an electronic keyboard to give them pitch. So if you don't have the instruments with you, at least you're giving them an accurate pitch with this. Well, another thing that I've discovered just recently is that my cell phone has an application for a keyboard on it, and the pitches are very accurate. I've checked them with a tuner, and so you can just use your cell phone when you're giving those lessons in the far off places if you happen to be in a school where you bounce around from building to building. Okay, I can see that I've certainly bent your ear long enough, and it's been a pleasure for me, and I hope that you gain something from these very short lectures on developing technique in elementary bands. Thanks, Don Huffmeister.